Okay, say and spell your name.
Pam Long, L-O-N-G. Do I need to spell first name?
And what part of the island did you spend the time on?
We were at Donix and Periwinkle, the first house off Periwinkle.
Okay. What did you experience during Ian?
In the morning, it didn't seem too bad. We sat around on the lanai for a while and watched the rain and the wind and just trying to get a handle on what was going on. And then as things picked up, it got a little more hairy. We watched the webcams as long as we could, and we saw the one at East Gulf and Lindgren, and there was a house with a mailbox that was almost submerged, and about that time the water was coming up our driveway. And it came kind of slow at first, and then it started coming faster, and it kept going up and up. And we were kind of gauging how deep it was by where it was on our pool cage, and it hit about 4.5 feet, and the pool cage came down on the stairs, which is our only way in and out of the house. But as time went on and the wind shifted, it actually picked the pool cage up off the stairs and just put it back in the pool. So, but being in a stilled home, it came probably 2/3 of the way up the stairs before it stopped. And so our upstairs was fine. We had an Australian pine behind us on the adjoining property, Anchor Inn. It came down on the roof, but it came down slow enough, and there were enough areca palms behind our house that it didn't damage the roof, luckily. You know, we lost gutters and what have you, but it didn't penetrate the roof. And, you know, like so many, we lost everything in the lower level, lost our car and truck, but the pool cage. And we stayed until, well, our daughter was with us. She was 6 months pregnant.
How many people were in the house?
3 of us, my husband and I and our daughter, who was 6 months pregnant. And you know, we lost cell service and, you know, had lost power, and so we had no way of communicating, but we had relatives in Avon Park that were contacting everyone trying to get word that there was a pregnant woman on the island. So we did have people that came on Friday that were looking for her, and she had already left by boat. And we were going to stay a few more days, but the police said, you know, it might be a good idea to leave tomorrow. And so we left on Saturday, but in the meantime, my daughter and I walked down to her apartment the next morning, and it was very eerie because it was so quiet, and you'd run into a person or a couple people out walking, and you'd hear their voices coming for a long time because there was no other noise except smoke alarms beeping. All you heard was beeping every time you went by the condos or the stores. It was just this beeping. But we did run into a few people as we were sliding down Periwinkle and down Cassibel, and it was kind of scary looking back on it then, because during the storm there's so much going on around you that you don't even, I wasn't even really worried until the water was about 2/3 the way up the stairs. Then it was like, okay, where are we going to go from here? But it stopped. So, but we left on Saturday, and then we didn't come back until we could drive back. We didn't come back by boat, so we were off the island for a while, and then came back and started we had started the cleanup process while we were still there, taking stuff out of the garage in the lower level, trying to get it dried out a little bit. So that helped when we came back, because there wasn't quite as much to deal with then, and everything wasn't all covered in mold. you know, we had mold issues, but it wasn't everything, so.
Did you have supplies before the hurricane hit?
We did, and at the, you know, a couple days before, as we were trying to make a decision to stay or leave, it looked like it was going towards Tampa. The surge wasn't going to be so bad, so my husband kind of wrapped up the generator, and he said, you know, we might get a foot or two in the garage, but once it's over, we'll start up the generator, we'll be fine. Well, the generator was underwater, so that didn't do us any good. We just kept stuff in the refrigerator until right before we left. And, you know, so we had some water, and we had food that didn't need cooked. We did have a camp stove, but.
When did you said you really, the magnitude of Ian didn't hit until your surge was way up. That was.
Yeah, and it was a strange feeling to look out the window and see waves out in the driveway, because there was a paddle board that came up the driveway and kept banging against the house, and it was an experience I probably don't want to go through again. So next time they're forecasting anything over a Cat 3, I think we'll probably leave. But, you know, we're working on, we've got the house. It's at the point where we're really just waiting to get gutters and things like that, and we're going to hold off on the pool cage. We put up a fence. So we're at the point where things are about as done as we're going to get them for a while. But
Any words of wisdom?
I would say maybe have, I don't know, because the way the storm turned at the last minute, we just felt like, okay, it was too late to do anything. Like I said, if it's over a Cat 3, even if you're thinking about staying, I would say don't do it, because the scariest part was when we dug out my bicycle and our daughter wanted to go down to the boat landing and see if anyone there had cell service, because she wanted to contact her ex-husband who had her son at the time. And she got down there and came back and said people were telling her the causeway was compromised, it was unstable. And she went back later to try again and came back and said there were chunks missing from the causeway. So that was one of the scariest things, because at that point you realize there's no help coming right away. It's, you know, it's going to be a while before you're going to get off in a regular manner. But yeah, if you have the opportunity to drive off and take your things with you, you should probably take it. It's not a fun thing to go through, but it was an experience.
Okay.
Just thankful to be safe and still have a home.
Yes, we're very lucky.
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
Jay, Ian, Pam, sir. To be headed.
Well, and actually, one of the